What's good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger. Now, first things first, before we go ahead and get started, I want to say thank you, God, for another day and another opportunity. But as y'all can see from the looks of the title on your screen, I'm going to be bringing y'all 3 of the best point forward builds or small forwards in NBA 2K23. Now, I have 2 actual point forwards. One's going to be a 3-point point forward. The second one going to be a 2-way point forward. And the last one, I'm wrapping it up with a defensive build. Now, before anything else, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new. And let's go ahead and run into this build. So coming up first, I had to go ahead and bring y'all the 3-point point forward build. So again, all of these builds, you can make your own adjustments as long as you keep the numbers pretty similar to what I'm bringing y'all today. I believe we're going to be able to maintain the same exact build name. Now, with this build, I'm going to go with 6'6" when it comes down to the height. When it comes down to the weight, I'm going to go with 231, and the wingspan will be 7'3". Now, as for the body shape, this is all based on preference. If you want to take up more space, I would really go ahead and pick burly, and that's exactly what I'm going to pick here. Now, let's go ahead and get into the actual breakdown of this build. Now, the reason why I decided to put this build at number 1 on this list is because how balanced we're going to be able to make it. So for the finishing, we're going to be able to get a total of 15 badges, and this is really only the start because you're also going to be able to get every single elite contact dunk. Now, as long as you go with that 93 driving dunk, the physicals will add up later on, so do not even worry about that. But as for the badges that we get, I truly believe we have everything that we need to be successful. Now, this build is 6'6", so it really reminds me more of a taller guard, but honestly, point forwards, I believe you can make them 6'7", and now even 6'8". But let's go ahead and move on to the shooting. This area, you do not need to stress it too much as long as you're mainly focused on the three-pointer. So for the mid-range, I'm going to go with the 70, 85 for my three-pointer, which is essentially pretty close to maxed out. Now for the free throw, in order to take this build into every game mode and not struggle, I'm going to go with the 60, and that's going to be perfect with 18 badges. Now remember, we're going to be able to have a core badge for each area of this build. So honestly, you may be able to even add extra badges from each season. And I know that once you become a starter in my career, we're going to be able to add on 4 extra badges, which is going to be a huge boost. Now for each season throughout the year, you have to keep in mind, each season is going to come with at least 1 extra badge point upgrade. So that's just something to take into consideration as we make these builds. But that's why I'm bringing y'all 3 different ones so you have options to pick from. Now for the playmaking, this is a really strong area of this build. The minimum I'm going to go with for the pass accuracy is going to be an 80. Now for the ball handle, this is going to be a 90. And if you want to go ahead and try to get 92 to unlock every single signature move for the dribbles, that's something that you can chase as well. Now for the speed with ball, I'm going to go with an 85. Now for the defense, this is actually one of the strongest areas out of this build, especially when it comes down to balance. You need to make sure that your point forward is going to have defense on it. So the interior will be a 55. The perimeter is going to be a 70, 72 for the steal, and a 75 block. That's going to bring us up to a total of 13 badges right here. But look at the physicals, y'all. 82 speed, 81 acceleration, 82 for the strength and vertical. Then we get a 96 stamina to wrap it up. Now, if you want to, you can make adjustments towards these builds. But remember, if you do change one thing, you may get a different build name. And that's what I'm warning you about right here. But if you want to get the same exact build name, continue through and let's go ahead and check out the takeovers. So we get the slashing right here. Also going to be able to get the shot creating, sharpshooting, and then the playmaking. Now, I believe the takeover is going to give you a plus 10 put towards your area of that build when activated. So I'm going to go with the sharpshooting for the first one. The second one, I would consider ankle breaking shots just because of the animations we get for the ankle breakers. Now, let's go ahead and check out the build name. And as you can see, we have 3 nice comparisons, Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Edwards. And we have created the one and only, at number 1 on this list, 3-point point forward build. Now, this is only the first one. The second one is going to get even better as far as what we're going to be able to do. So with the next build that I'm going to go ahead and pick, it's going to be the 2-way point forward. And again, we're going to be making it at a 6'6" height. So like all 3 of these builds, you have to make them out of the small forward position. If you don't, you're going to get a different build name. That's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and get started with this one. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, this is going to be the main ball handler on your team, especially if you're looking to run 3s or even 5s. Now, you're going to be able to get every single pro dribble animation. Now, let's go ahead and get started with the body shape, the height, and all that. I'm going to go with 6'6". For the weight, go with 188. And the wingspan, this is where it's going to help us out with getting that two-way build name. Go with 7'3". Now, the body shape, you can go with defined, builds. If you get burly, if you change the weight, that's perfectly okay as well. I'm going to go with build just so I can take up more space. Now, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of the attributes from here. I'm going to go with the 60 for the close shot and an 80 for my driving layup, 26 for my driving dunk, and right there we get 7 total badges. Now, I know that some of y'all are going to be questioning why didn't I upgrade anything for the driving dunk. Now, for this build, you're solely relying on your body movement as well as IQ, so you're not going to need the driving dunk for this build. But for the shooting, this is where we're really going to be able to stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this is just balanced enough to where I'm able to drive to the rim as well as hit consistently. Now, I know people who have made builds with 60 3-pointers and they've been hitting pretty deep. Now, let's go ahead and get into the badges. We have 15 right here, but honestly, you have more than enough, especially if you do spread out the wealth. You're going to be in perfect hands going forward. Now, for the playmaking and the defense, I saved the best for last, so let's go ahead and get started. My pass accuracy, I'm going to go with an 80. 92 for the ball handle, which means at 6'6", we're going to be able to unlock every single pro dribble animation, as well as Trae Young and Stephen Curry. Now, imagine Curry sliding on a 6'6" build this year. Going to be completely different from last year, but 24 badges is perfect for this kind of build, especially with the defensive end. We're still not finished. So right here, I'm going to go with the 75 for the interior, and I'm telling you, this year, interior defense is definitely back. 92 for the perimeter, 78 for my steal. Now, for the block, if you want to, you can raise this, but I'm going to go with the 72. For my offensive, I did go with an 84, and then my defensive will be a 70. Now, overall, this is looking like a 1v1 type build, especially with that offensive rebound. Now, we're not finished yet. We still have the physicals to get into, but as far as for the defensive area and the playmaking, you're going to be able to ISO any type of build as well as defend. Now, let's go ahead and get started with the physicals. I'm going to go with the 91 for the speed. Now, for the acceleration, this is going to get brought up to an 88. Skip over the strength, go with the 61 vertical, and then for the stamina, you definitely want to be sure that you're getting the maximum possible, so I'm going to make it to where I get a 95 stamina on this build. Now, to all the loyals that are still watching, go ahead and let me know, what do y'all think about this build right now coming in at number 2? My favorite thing about it has to be the actual build name, but also look at the playmaking as well as the defense. Super overpowered. With that 91 speed, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage. Now, in the previous 2Ks, I have had builds that are 6'6" with a 99 speed. I'm telling you right now, this is definitely going to be one of the most rare builds to use, but honestly, you have to be very skillful as well. Now, I did see this build from my man Koza, so I'm going to go ahead and put his link in the description of this build below. Be sure to go ahead and show him love on his video, run up the likes. Now, for the takeovers, we get the shot creating, the sharpshooting, also going to be able to get the playmaking, and then finally, for this build, of course, we have to get some type of lockdown defender takeover. So however you decide to go about it, make sure it's to your own liking and play style. Honestly, starting out day one, I would go with limitless range for my first. Secondly, extreme clamps honestly is pretty overpowered, and especially with this kind of build, you're going to need it. Now let's go ahead and go to the shades up screen and see what we get. I'm telling y'all, this is one of the best point forward builds that you're going to be seeing. I love the comparison of OG and Anobi, and right here, we have created the two-way point forward build. Now, this is only number 2. I have one final build on this list, and I'm telling you, I saved the best for last as far as the defensive end, because this is going to be the lockdown that you can take into any game mode with you. Whether you want to bring a lockdown in the 2v2 courts, 3v3, or even 5v5, this is going to be the perfect make for you. Now, to get started, this is the number 3 point forward build, or the small forward, but again, you can make it easily to turn out to be a point forward if you make your own adjustments. So honestly, let's go ahead and get right into the making. With this build, we're not going to go ahead and make it 6'6". We're going to go with 6'8", 241 for the weight with a 7'6" wingspan. Now, this is the biggest difference from the previous 2 builds, especially with the extra 2 inches on the height when it comes down to the body shape. I'm going to go with builds because I want to take up the most space. Now, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of the actual attributes, the badges, and everything else. So, for the close shot, I'm going to go with the 52. Driving layup going to be a 72 and a 92 for my driving dunk. Now, from here, I actually do have to upgrade my standing dunk and post control, because later I'm going to upgrade areas of this build that's automatically going to raise these. So go with the 54 for the standing dunk, 29 for the post control, and right there we get a total of 12 badges, and we have everything that we need as far as balance for this area. Now, for the shooting, this is where we're really going to shine, and especially even more so a little bit on the playmaking because of the ball handle we're going to be able to work with. I'm just going to go ahead and say you're definitely going to want to go ahead and follow along. But for the mid-range shot, I'm going to go with the 76. For my three-pointer, I'm going to go with an 80, and a free throw of a 77. Now, right there, we get brought up to 19 badges. And honestly, For the shooting, this build isn't bad at all. We get 4 Hall of Fame. Then when it comes down to the tier 3, you have a good amount of badges to work with out of this area as well. Now, to be sure to take this build into any game mode, make sure that you keep that free throw above a 70. Now, for the pass accuracy, I'm going to go with the 60. For the ball handle, go with an 85, and my speed with ball will be a 70 for a total of 14 playmaking badges. Now, honestly, I did just want to make sure that my ball handle wasn't going to be low. I wanted to be able to be versatile on this build, but still able to defend just as good as a pure lockdown. Now, for the interior, I'm going to go with an 88. 86 for my perimeter. Now, for the steal, go with an 82. 83 for the block, and then for the rebounding, offensive is going to be a 69, and my defensive will be a 90, and this is going to bring us up to a total of 27 defensive badges. Now, with the takeovers that we get, I'm telling you, this is only going to add towards our defensive boost, or if you do go with the sharpshooting takeover, that's going to be something to consider as well. But now for the physicals, I'm going to go with the 78 for my speed, 70 for the acceleration, 89 for my strength. Now for the vertical, go with an 82 so that way we're able to get all of the elite contact dunks. And then for my stamina, I'm going to go with the 90. Now, if you want to go ahead and change any of the numbers of the physicals, that's definitely possible. That's what I did when I actually created this build originally. So I did work around the stats, and then after that, I made sure I wanted my physicals to a certain threshold. Now right here, we have everything that we do need out of this build. We're able to dribble, bring up the ball still, defend any build 1 through 5, and we're going to be able to shoot consistent as another build as well. Now, when it comes down to the finishing, we have all of the elite contact dunks, so that is the main thing that I was focusing on for this build, especially with being able to defend. Now, with the takeovers, like I said, this is going to play the biggest factor in adding boost. We get the shot creating, the sharpshooting, the lockdown, and the rim protecting. So for my liking, on day 1, I would really have to say limitless range is going to be a super overpowered takeover, but if you wanted to go with double lockdown takeovers, that's something possible as well. I'm going to go with extreme clamps, and the second one, stuff blocks, rim protecting. Now let's go ahead and check out the build name that we made. Now I'm telling y'all, easily the best versatile lockdown defender build that I've seen so far. We get a comparison of LeBron James, and as you can see, we have created the 3&D wing, y'all. Now, for those of y'all who are going to actually use and make this build, go ahead and let me know in the comments right now. But again, thank y'all for the support, and more so than anything else, thank you, God, for another day and another opportunity. But man, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new. And if you want to jump on board with the Rich family, go ahead and turn on post notifications and smack that like button. But man, with all that being said, I got one last thing to say. Rich out.